Winter's Brightening by Niall Campbell. Turn up the lights of a light-filled room. Outside, the winter's closing in. The night is cold, but here's the tune. Look here, the winter's brightening. Down goes the sun like honeycomb. Up pulls the storming winds and rain. But here's the moon, its full white bowl. Look here, the winter's brightening. Love sets the plates and lays the meal. Love in the winter's welcoming. Its snow-white door, its turning key. Look here, the winter's brightening. Hello, I'm Hannah Satrin. In order to demonstrate our understanding of the class content in music theory, it seemed obvious that our final project had to involve composing a piece of music. Therefore, when we discovered a holiday-themed melody writing competition, we as a class knew exactly what our final demonstrations of learning should be. The competition itself involved writing a melody to The Winter's Brightening by Niall Campbell and was hosted by BBC Radio. Unfortunately, only UK citizens could enter the competition, but that did not matter. Our demonstrations of learning seemed clear. We would set the poem to music.
To write the melody together as a whole, we went around in a circle and each chose one pitch and a note value to set the text. Turn up the lights of a light-filled room. Outside, the winter's closing in. This was strangely simple because we did it as a group. So there was no pressure on getting it perfect from the start because we knew we were only choosing one note and passing it to the next person. Afterwards, the melody was played on the piano to see if it was satisfactory and if the melody fit the meter of the poem's stanzas. By then, we were creating the melody and ready to sing it through. Enjoy this snippet of us singing just the first part of the melody.
Later in the trimester, we learned how to harmonize a melody. Harmonizing a melody is when you add an accompaniment to a single line of notes. Many composers do this by adding a triad, also known as a chord. A triad is a group of 3 notes that are consonant, which means they typically sound good together. We knew which triad to choose by selecting 3 options. Each option has the note we are trying to accompany within the triad. We narrowed down the options to 1 by choosing which one sounded best in accordance to the rest of the triads and notes. In addition to triads, we also include 7th chords, which are triads with an added note 7 intervals away from the root of the note. These chords are used in a variety of ways to convey all different types of emotions. They were very common in the beginning of the late 19th century, found in classical music, followed by jazz in the 20th century, and are now found in many modern genres too.
Once we came up with our melody and chord progression for the first portion of the poem, we then split up and as individuals experimented with melodies for the second stanza. Each of us went to a different piano and used our own process to create a melody and then harmonize it with chords. My personal process for coming up with the melody included a lot of experimentation as well as trial and error. First, I thought of what type of feeling I wanted the melody to have, while also taking the first stanza's melody into consideration. I knew that I wanted a pickup, which is when you have a partial measure that precedes the downbeat of the first full measure, to start the melody. So I began from there and slowly built it up around the idea of building more energy throughout the section. Once I settled on a melody that I was satisfied with, I then used the same method to choose chords to support the melody and pull the whole thing together.
Okay. 1, 2, and 3.
Turn up the lights of a light-filled room. Outside, the winter's closing in. The night is cold, but here's the tune. Look here, the winter's brightening.
special part of my composition is the end. This is a 7th chord, which is a standard triad with, of course, a 7th interval, which you could probably guess because of the name of this chord. In my piece, I chose the way how a singer would look at it. The triad in the bass is a solid chord, but adding the melody notes, it becomes a 4 chord. But once you get to the last note, it becomes a 7 chord. The separate notes of the melody form a riff to end the piece off in a spooky but calm tone, which added so much more to the overall mood of my music. At first, I didn't even realize I made a 7th chord, but after learning about them, I wanted to keep it in my composition to make it unique, original, and mine.
Turn up the lights of a light-filled room outside. The winter's closing in. The night is cold, but here's the tune. Look here, the winter's brightening.
A moment of interest in my composition is when, in the 7th, 8th, and 9th measures, I changed the time signature from 4/4 to 3/4 and 5/8. By changing the time signature, I am changing which beats of each measure are the strong beats and where the emphasis is. When listening to my composition, it changes the feeling of the piece, as well as the perceived speed. It creates this feeling of urgency and almost mimics the feeling of snowfall.
Turn up the lights of a light-filled room outside. The winter's closing in. The night is cold, but here's a tune. Look here, the winter is brightening.
For my piece in particular, I chose to end my composition with an extended chord, rather than a 7th chord or triad. An extended chord consists of a triad with a 7th and 9th interval above the root. I specifically chose to end my piece this way because it gives the music a sense of wonder and questioning, which emphasizes the overall feeling of my piece, solemn but hopeful.
3.
Turn up the lights of a light-filled room outside. The winter's closing in. The night is cold, but here's a tune. Look here, the winter's brightening.
A moment of interest in my composition is a walk down. The walk down is typically used on guitar and originated in country and folk music. However, it can now be found in tons of modern day compositions. It was used to create a smooth transition between chords and almost walk down from one chord to the next.
At the beginning of this class, we had little knowledge on music theory. However, as the trimester progressed, we progressed along with it.
Although each one of us started with the same melody, hopefully it can be heard that our own individual choices and ideas influenced our pieces to make them sound unique.
We hope that this video was informative about the music composition process.
Intro to Music Theory!